Good evening, and welcome to CityView Inside. I'm your host, Liz Hatch. CityView Inside is a program that provides an opportunity for us to give you, the viewers, a kind of behind-the-scenes look at how the city operates. At different times, we'll hear directly from the departments that help keep the city moving. We'll also try our best to keep you informed on happenings in and around Cambridge. Today, we will be learning all about the city's budget department. Director Jeana Franconi and budget analyst Monsegur join me to help fill us in on all the hard work the department does to help keep the city's budget process as smooth as possible. They are also here to tell us all about how the pilot year of a progressive new program went. Let's take a look at this short clip, and then we'll be right back to learn all we can.
How would you spend $500,000? The City Council recently launched the Participatory Budgeting Initiative. The initiative invites community members to share ideas on projects to improve the city.
Participatory budgeting is a way for Cambridge residents to directly decide how to spend $500,000 of the city's capital budget. The first step of participatory budgeting is we needed to gather ideas, and during the month of December, we, through online, email, mail, walk-in, however anybody could get us an idea, they were submitted to the budget office, and we received over 380 ideas. And then the months of January to March, we have volunteers called budget delegates who were instructed to narrow down the 380 ideas down to 20 that will be on the ballot at the end of this month. And so they did research, site visits, and other types of assessments to see what would best serve the community.
To help determine how the $500,000 is spent, you have to vote.
The vote is going to be both in person and online. Cambridge will be the first United States city to allow for online voting, so we're really excited about that. But we will also be in voting will happen all week from the March 22nd through the 28th, and we'll be at the main library for voting. We'll be at the Windsor Street Health Center. We'll also be at the Cambridge Community Center during the farmers market. So we're going to try and reach people physically, but we'll also have an online presence as well.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Liz.
So we're here to learn all about the budget department. So walk me through the process a little bit. What happens in order to get the city ready for the next fiscal year?
Sure. So we begin the budget process in November, and we start the planning process then and work with the city manager and the assistant city manager of finance to come up with the parameters for the budget. Okay. So we start that planning in November through December, and start looking at where we are in the current budget and what initiatives we're looking forward to in the next fiscal year. And then from December through March, we're working with the departments to put their budgets together. So we really do the analysis with them to make sure that we are as accurate as possible.
Yep. So you guys are busy year-round then. So even though, you know, the budget season sort of that everybody thinks is over this, like, these past few months when all the budget hearings are happening, you guys are really working year-round to make sure that everything's going smoothly and all that, right?
Correct, yes. So we put the budget together, and the budget is usually adopted at the end of May or the beginning of June. Okay. And then after it's adopted, we're still from June through June 30th, then we begin working on the year-end, right. Closing the year-end with all of the other finance departments, purchasing, auditing, revenue, and treasury. So we're all working together to make sure that the books close properly.
Right. So Michelle, has this been your first full year, sort of?
Yes, it has. I joined the city last summer as a budget analyst, so right around the year-end time. I think my 1-year anniversary was a few days ago, and it's been a really incredible learning process. I feel like I've joined a really good team with Jeana and the 2 other analysts in the office, and it was really helpful to go through the whole cycle once to know how to work with the departments and sort of what the end result was. And we made this awesome budget book this year. It's a product we're really proud of, and I'm really excited to be part of the process.
That's wonderful. So speaking of the book, I heard we have some changes recently in terms of the layout and the design and all that good stuff. So what can we expect to see differently when we open this year's?
The format has changed completely. The book used to be landscape, and now it's portrait. And it has a different feel. There are templates that we've used so that it looks consistent throughout the book. And the hope is that if somebody were to pick the book up and they couldn't read it cover to cover right away, that if they were to read the first 30 pages, they would have a pretty good idea of what was happening in the city around the budget and the new initiatives, the key initiatives that the city is taking on for the next fiscal year.
Okay, cool. So does anybody ever really read it cover to cover?
We do.
We do. I'm sure you guys do. But like, so for example, do you get any residents that come in and say like, you know, on this page, in this paragraph, I see this, and like, do you ever get anything like that? Do people really scrutinize it and stuff like that?
We do get some inquiries and, you know, requesting more information. Some people, they want to know, they have some of their favorite departments, so year after year I know that I'll be receiving an email from so-and-so just for an update on one of the departments in particular that they're interested in. So I think that the questions come in, more specific to a department than just the general overview they receive in the budget document.
Okay. And are they just requesting like a further breakdown? Or is it like comparisons to last year, or what are people most interested in, do you think?
Or I would say like what will that department be taking on, and then, you know, will they be doing anything new in the next fiscal year, that type of thing. Okay.
Well, I'm sure you guys get quite the scrutinization from everybody, but that's what you're here for, right? You guys do it too to the departments, so.
Well, we welcome comments from the public. We really appreciate their interest, and however we can help them better understand how the city works, we're happy to do it.
Well, that's wonderful. So, Michelle, your first process, what do you think was your favorite part about it?
Some of the departments that I was working with mostly the smaller commissions and the smaller departments, because that's a good way to start to figure out how to go through this whole process. So I was working with the Animal Commission, the Historical Commission, the Peace Commission, folks like that, and it's really interesting to learn about all of the different work that they do. It's nice to be able to sit down with them and just talk about their programs, talk about what's coming up in the current year, and you really learn a lot. So that was the most fun part, and we go into the budget hearings with them, with the city manager, and help them get prepared for that. So it's a good way to learn sort of a bird's eye view of how the whole city works. I really wanted to work here in Cambridge and for city government in general to learn how you run a city, and I felt like if you could learn how to follow the money, you'd figure out how all the programs and departments fit together. So it's been a great opportunity to do that.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, it's usually if you follow the money, you find a little things.
Michelle was also instrumental in making the budget document, transforming it into the way it is. She created a lot of the templates and put all of the work into the new document.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Yeah,
it's always good to change things up and have some new people, new ideas.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned about going into the budget hearings with your departments. What is the atmosphere like during those? You know, they can get pretty intense sometimes.
I think they're, I guess, a little bit more on the formal side, because the departments, it's their chance to sort of sit down with the city manager, the deputy city manager, the finance director, Jeana, the budget director, and go over where they're hoping to go. We do everything is level funded, so whatever you got for your budget last year is what you would get this year, and if you'd like to increase it, you have to submit a supplemental request. So that's your opportunity to make a case for whatever additional funding they think they need for certain projects or equipment, things like that. So it's pretty interesting to see how that stuff is evaluated, and then the bigger hearings are in front of the City Council a few months later. But this is really much more focused on the numbers and where things will go.
Okay, so after all of these budget hearings, who sets up the meetings with the council? What happens next, sort of? How do they get their budget approved, so to say?
After all of the meetings with the city manager, then we work with the city council to make sure that the dates are appropriate and fit everybody's calendar, and so then we put together 2 big dates that are full of hearings, and so we hear half of the city's budget on one day and we hear half on the other day, and we welcome public comment at both meetings. Okay,
so public is invited, and it's also broadcast on the city cable TV channel, right?
It is, yeah.
That's very exciting. I'm sure people love to tune in, and if they can't come and make it. So what about this year do you think was different because of the book? Do you think people were able to more easily read it and more easily say, oh, you know, reference them and stuff like that? Or do you think there were other reasons? Maybe it was just pretty smooth?
I think one change that was really nice was the key initiatives section that we put into the front of the book, which kind of, it gives you a picture of the programs that the city's doing as a whole versus having to look in each specific department's pages to figure out what's going on. So that's where you can learn about the new composting initiative or the LED streetlight conversion or having coffee with a cop. Those are just some of the programs that are in there. So I think that's Jeana mentioned that's in the first 30 pages of the book. So I think that just gives people a good snapshot of overall the cool things that Cambridge is trying to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of collaboration between departments, and sometimes in the older version of the book you couldn't really see that because the departments are so siloed. But here we did try to make it so that we could pull out those things where departments that are working together, you could actually read about it in the front.
Yeah, that's really nice. The Participatory Budgeting Initiative. So this was the pilot year.
It was, yeah.
So very exciting.
It was wonderful. It exceeded my expectations. Just the public support and participation was incredible.
That's wonderful. So let's sort of give everybody a general outline just in case they missed this past year.
Go ahead.
Sure. So the idea was brought to the city by Councillor Leland Chung, and we started planning for the process last fall. We contracted with a nonprofit group called the Participatory Budgeting Project. They're based out of New York, and they have helped a lot of other cities in North America get their PB processes up and running. We say PB because participatory budgeting is a mouthful. So, so we started working with them, and we recruited about a 22-member steering committee, all volunteers, a lot of residents, some members of local organizations, and they are the ones that kind of guided the overall process because this really wasn't supposed to be something that the city ran directly. So they made key decisions about who could participate and how, such as, you know, what the voting eligibility criteria were, and they decided that it could be Cambridge residents who were 12 or older regardless of immigration status. So that's just one thing they determined. So they came on board in about October. And then we had idea collection open for the whole month of December last year, and we had a cool online mapping tool where a lot of people submitted their idea for different types of capital projects that they wanted to see done in the city.
So can I pause you for a minute? Let's talk about capital projects, because I don't think everybody knows the difference or what, you know, sort of qualifies a capital project.
Well, for this process, we had $500,000 available from the capital budget, and the criteria was that it had to be a one-time capital expenditure. Usually that's like some sort of physical improvement or renovation or repair. It had to have a small operating cost. So the way we kind of tried to define it was if it increased the department's workload but it didn't increase their workforce, like we wouldn't have to hire new staff to do the project, then it was okay. So some of it's tricky though, there's a fine line. So for example, a lot of people submitted ideas about helping the homeless, or so you could build a new homeless shelter and the building of it would be a capital project, but you'd have to hire people to work in it. So that made it ineligible. But a lot of the other projects we got were, you know, bike repair stations or a water feature in a park. You could do a skate park. You could repair a sidewalk. We had a lot of interesting and creative ideas, and a lot of them sort of walk that line.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be a learning process over time, trying to get the word out there more about what is eligible for capital funds and what's not. The projects had to be completed on city property for the most part and done by the city, so we couldn't give a grant to a nonprofit organization or something like that. But this funding is only for 1 year, so part of the reason why it's not operating funds is because it would be really difficult to start a program, for example, that served the homeless, and then have to stop that after only 1 year.
Yeah.
So for now, the plan is this year, it's starting again. It'll be $600,000 in the capital budget, but we think it'll be here to stay, which is really exciting.
Yeah, okay, so that's cool. So what kind of projects won the first round?
We had 6 winners. So let me, before we get right there, so we had the steering committee, we had idea collection. No, it's okay. I just want to make sure that we lay out the whole process. We had about 380 ideas that were submitted for all these different projects around town.
That's pretty good.
It was really interesting. It generated a lot of conversation because people could comment on each other's projects or like it, things like that. We tried to get the word out through social media and promote it.
Yep.
And then we had about 40, another group of volunteers called budget delegates, and it was their job to take those 380 ideas and get them down to the final 20 that were on the ballot.
Okay.
So they did a lot of work. They did the bulk of the work. Unfortunately, it fell during the winter months when we had 6 feet of snow, which made their jobs a bit difficult. It made some of the city staff's jobs a bit difficult in terms of helping them evaluate these projects.
Yeah.
But they succeeded in getting it down to 20 projects, and we had 6 winners, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
So there will be a new public toilet in Central Square, which we all have to test out as soon as it's open. There'll be free Wi-Fi in 6 outdoor locations, mostly outside the youth centers in town and near Fresh Pond and the water department. Bilingual books for kids learning English, so that parents who may not speak English can still help their kids learn by reading to them in their native language. 8 bike repair stations around town, which will be really cool for people who commute that way. And 20 new laptops for the Community Learning Center, which serves an adult student population. And am I missing any?
Healthy trees?
Oh, right, the biggest winner, sorry. 100 new trees for Cambridge, so that'll be really exciting too.
Yeah, definitely. So, Jeana, what do you think your favorite project was?
My favorite project, it made the ballot. It was an amphitheater for Danahy Park. It was the budget delegates who worked on it were a couple of the youth from the high school who put that idea together, and just watching them go through the process and be part of a committee was really exciting, but I thought it was a unique idea and one that the city had not entertained before, and those are the ideas that I really enjoy. Or there was another one for a traffic garden to teach children about being good motorists and pedestrians and cyclists. And so things that we wouldn't think of, I think, are the ones that really captured my attention.
Yeah. So what, the high school students got involved, was there an age for the people that were the budget delegates, or what was the requirements for those?
If you were 14 years old or older, you could be a budget delegate.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So who determined these sort of standards?
The steering committee.
The steering committee, okay.
Yeah.
So they really set everything. So who can be on the steering committee?
Anybody who is affiliated with Cambridge. So if you live here, work here, go to school here, anybody is invited to apply to the committee. And this new cycle that we just started has 24 steering committee members, and we're really looking forward to getting to know them and work together.
That's very, very nice. So how hard was it sort of for you guys to sort of step aside and let all these steering committees and budget delegates sort of go ahead and do their job in this participatory budgeting process?
I think it's very collaborative. I mean, we are the ones, we set the agendas and we work together in making sure that they're, as they guide the process, that everything is staying in line. So it's really a partnership, I would say. Okay. So it really works well this last time around, and it's just an incredible amount of fun. I mean, it's a lot of work, but going out, Michelle and I, we pop up in different places to during idea collection, we would be at the CRLS, the high school's lunchroom, to capture ideas from the kids. We were at the youth centers during the voting process to make sure all the kids were able to vote on laptops, and we were at the farmers market as well during the vote week, and we were everywhere, and it was just really great to get out of the office and mingle with the community.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So do you guys know how many total votes you got?
We had 2,727 people vote.
That's great. So who were the eligible voters this time around?
So it was anyone who lived in Cambridge who was 12 or up, and regardless of immigration status. So we did get some nice comments from folks who have been here for many years, are legal permanent residents, but can't vote in regular elections. So they felt like it was nice for them to be able to have a say in this community at least.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm sure that's a nice feeling.
Yeah.
So did you guys, in terms of feedback, get any negative feedback or positive suggestions for next time?
We did.
Yeah.
In fact, we had a grad student from Harvard do an independent analysis of the whole process, and she's written up her evaluation, and we're going to post that online so that everybody can read and hear about both positive and negative feedback.
That's very interesting. So did she come in and talk to everybody in the budget, and did she talk to people on the steering committee, and she really did a good job of getting all points of view?
Yeah, she did. She even spoke to some voters. We also did surveying throughout the entire process. So from our first meeting to the last meeting, we were sending out surveys all the time to get different feedback, because we really do want to make the process better every time we can, and we really invite the public to help us out with that.
Well, that's very interesting. So when it goes online, where can we find it? Do we know yet?
It'll be on our main PB website, which is pb.cambridgema.gov.
Okay.
Or cambridgema.gov/yourbudget. You can get there both ways, but we'll put it up there as soon as it's ready.
Okay, that's cool. I would definitely love to check that out and see the outside opinions.
Yeah, definitely. But to your comment, I think one of the biggest challenges is that we held the participatory budgeting cycle right. It was running parallel with us putting the budget together, and those were during the winter months, and so it was difficult for the budget delegates to go out and do site visits because the snow was piled so high, and they were also meeting weekly and getting to and from their meetings. I mean, a lot of them were canceled just because of the weather and things like that, so I would say that that was really challenging in our timeline. I think that and city staff who were working on their budgets but also clearing snow, it made it difficult for them to reach back out to those budget delegates looking for feasibility and cost estimates. So that's why we've shifted the timeline, and we've started now, and idea collection will be in August, and the vote will be in December, and so we'll have everything taken care of before it snows.
Hopefully. Hopefully it doesn't snow early.
This is true.
Okay, so we're seeing a shift in the timeline for the second cycle. Are we seeing changes? Well, we're seeing changes in the money too. We're increasing the money.
Yeah.
So are we to assume that means the first round went well enough to increase the money, or was that a set goal, or?
Yeah, I think it's a positive sign that the pilot did go incredibly well, and the city has agreed to increase the amount over the next few years by $100,000 every year. So yeah, through FY20, because we do our 5-year analysis and our capital plan through that, we plan that for 5 years, and so we've made sure that there's an increase in participatory budgeting every year.
Well, that's very exciting. I'm sure everybody's happy about that.
Yeah.
Everybody loves to.
On both sides, I'd say.
Yeah.
Were you able to vote in participatory budgeting?
I was. I voted online. It
Excellent.
was very rewarding. I also liked the Danahy Park amphitheater idea, but it just missed it, I think, right?
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
It's too bad. So here's a question. Can projects that got submitted last time and didn't get funded, can they be resubmitted?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So if it is technically the same exact project, it wouldn't really need to be revetted or maybe probably reviewed again to see if any costs increased or anything like that. But
yeah, definitely. And if I mean, it's going to be a new group, so all of the budget delegates, I assume, are not going to be the same, or they're not all going to come back. So through the last cycle, they had 380 ideas, and they had to bring it down to 20. And so they used different methods as to what they thought was most important or the greatest need for the community. And so their process and mindset might be different than those on the pilot of which 20 ideas to bring forward. So you never know where that idea will land.
That's true. Well, so along the same lines about the projects that got picked. So there was 500,000 funds in funding, and the projects, I believe it was about 528,000 that ended up getting funded.
Yeah.
So where did that little bit of extra come from?
Well, we had, there was one project, and it was the Wi-Fi, and it's for several different locations, and so that was kind of the tipping point there. And so we had requested that the city manager fund the additional 28,000 so that we could bring all 6 up, instead of saying 500 is you know, such a stiff line, and we could do maybe 3 of the locations with Wi-Fi, but we bent the city manager's ear, and he agreed to allow it.
Well, that's nice. That's good. Definitely understandable on his part.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. So what do you think? Do you think we'll be seeing, now that people are excited about the process and they understand it more, do you think people will be submitting, you know, sort of bigger ideas for more money? And is there maybe a set limit, like would one project be 600,000? Would that be acceptable, or if it did happen to get voted, or are we seeing any restrictions sort of with that? Or?
Well, it has to, one of the requirements is that it cannot exceed $600,000, but certainly somebody could put in an idea that would cost a total of $600,000. But people have different strategies as they put their ideas up. Some are of the mindset of, you know, just the greatest idea should, you know, they'll vote on. But others, we found they like having several small projects to make it through, so that it's a more diverse pool of projects being put up by the city. So it's anybody's game. We just, you know, we observe.
So in terms of the projects that got funded, are we able to see sort of the completed project in person? I know we can obviously go and look in person in the physical form, but if people maybe aren't able to get around, is there anything online that they can go and check out pictures and completed projects?
We definitely will be posting updates. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've met with all the departments that will be implementing the 6 projects at one, as well as with the budget delegates who worked on the trees project, the toilet project, and the bike repair station, so that they could talk directly to city staff who will be implementing these projects to talk about location and design and things like that. I think they were really productive meetings, and so our fiscal year starts on July 1st, which is really soon, but that's when the money will become available, and so implementation will start after that. Some things like the bilingual books and the CLC laptops, we should be able to purchase quickly, and we're planning on putting PB stickers on everything, or some sort of label, so that we can say, you know, this was brought to the community by participatory budgeting, so look out for the stickers. They'll be different than these, but some things like the trees and the toilet have a longer timeline. But the departments are starting now, so as we get updates from them, we'll definitely publicize it on our website.
Yeah, well, that's nice. It'll be nice to know exactly where, you know, the funds came from, and people may see the stickers and not know about the project, and, you know, give you guys a call and say, hey, can I volunteer? Can I, you know, get involved in this process? Yeah,
we welcome that. We would love for anybody to get involved, as there are so many different ways to get involved and be volunteers, from the steering committee, or there are other ways that don't require such a commitment, and so if anybody would like to volunteer, they can do that at our website, and we'd be happy to bring them on board.
Wonderful. Well, unfortunately, guys, that is all the time we have. Thank you so much for telling me all about this really cool project. I think it's a great initiative, and I wish you luck with your 2nd year.
Thank you.
And hopefully you will come back soon and let me know how that one went.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. For the staff at 22 CityView, I'm Liz Hatch. Good night, and thanks for watching.